Hey crew, it's Pitt and I'm back with some more ancient lore. Today we're going to be diving back into the gods and fighting men. We are on part 1, book 2. I'm going to attempt to do 3 parts of book 2 all in one sitting. It's going to be a little bit long. There may be some jump cuts because that's just the way it's going to go. We will be reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points that are brought to light by the text. I'm not sure exactly how much will be brought to light by the text. This is not the typical thing that we're doing. This is something that I want more knowledge on, and so we're going to read more about Irish history. If I don't have anything to add, it will simply be a read through, but if I do, then we will stop and discuss it. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box below, along with the original source material, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. With that being said, let us dive in and continue our exploration of gods and fighting men with part 1, book 2, The Coming of Lugh. Now, as to Nadia of the Silver Hand, he was holding a great feast at Teamhair one time after he was back in the kingship. And there were 2 doorkeepers at Teamhair, Gamal, son of Figel, and Camel, son of Riegal. And a young man came to the door where one of them was, and bade him bring him in to the king. "Who are you yourself?" said the doorkeeper. "I am Lugh, son of Sion of the Tuatha de Danann and of Athilin, daughter of Baelor, king of the Fomor," he said. "I am a foster son of Tialate, daughter of the king of the Great Plain, and of Acade, the Roof, son of Duach." "What are you skilled in?" said the doorkeeper, "for no one without an art comes into Teamhair." "Question me," said Lugh. "I am a carpenter." "We do not want you. We have a carpenter ourselves, Luctar, son of Lucade." "Then I am a smith." "We have a smith ourselves, Qualamek, of the 3 new ways." "Then I am a champion." "That is no use to us. We have a champion before, Ogma, brother to the king." "Question me again," he said. "I am a harper." "That is no use to us. We have a harper ourselves, Avian, son of Bisamos, that the men of the 3 gods brought from the bills." "I am a poet," he said then, "and a teller of tales." "That is no use to us. We have a teller of tales ourselves, Eric, son of Ethaman." "And I am a magician." "That is no use to us. We have plenty of magicians, and people of power." "I am a physician," he said. "That is no use. We have Dianect for our physician." "Let me be a cupbearer," he said. "We do not want you. We have 9 cupbearers ourselves." "I am a good worker in brass." "We have a worker in brass ourselves. That is Crednik Kierd." Then Lugh said, "Go and ask the king if he has any one man that can do all of these things, and if he has, I will not ask to come into Teamhair." And the doorkeeper went to the king's house then and told him all that. "There is a young man at the door, and his name should be Ildanak, the master of all arts. For all the things the people of your house can do, he himself is able to do every one of them." "Try him with the chessboards," said Nadia. If the chessboards were brought out and every game was played, Lugh won it. And when Nadia was told that, he said, "Let him in, for the like of him never came into Teamhair before." Then the doorkeeper let him pass, and he came into the king's house and sat down in the seat of knowledge. And there was a great flagstone there that could hardly be moved by 4 times 20 yoke of oxen. And Ogma took it up and hurled it out through the house, so that it lay on the outside of Teamhair, as a challenge to Lugh. But Lugh hurled it back again, that it lay in the middle of the king's house. He played the harp for them then, and he had them laughing and crying, till he put them asleep at the end with a sleepy tune. And when Nadia saw these things that Lugh could do, he began to think that by his help the country might get free of the taxes and the tyranny put on it by the Fomor. And it is what he did. He came down from his throne, and he put Lugh on it in his place for the length of 13 days, the way they might all listen to the advice he could give. This now is the story of the birth of Lugh, The time the Formor used to be coming to Ireland, Balor of the strong winds, or the strong blows, or, as some called him, of the evil eye, was living on the island of the Tower of Glass. There was a danger for ships that went near that island, for the Formor would come out and take them. And some say the sons of Nemed, in the old time, before the Firbolgs were in Ireland, passed near it in their ships. And what they saw was a tower of glass in the middle of the sea, and on the tower something that had the appearance of men, and they went against it with druid spells to attack it. And the Formor worked against them with druid spells of their own, and the sons of Nemed attacked the tower, and it vanished, and they thought it was destroyed. But a great wave rose over them, and all their ships went down, and all that were in them. And the tower was there as before, and Balor living in it. And it is the reason he was called of the evil eye. There was a power of death in one of his eyes, so that no person could look at it and live. It is the way it got that power. He was passing one time by a house where his father's druids were making spells of death, and the window being open, he looked in. And the smoke of the poisonous spells was rising up, and it went into his eye. And from that time he had to keep it closed unless he wanted to be the death of some enemy. And then the men that were with him could lift the eyelid with a ring of ivory. Now a druid foretold one time that it was by his own grandson he would get his death, and he had it at that time but one child, a daughter whose name was Ethlin. And when he heard what the druid said, he shut her up in the tower on the island, and he put 12 women in with her to take charge of her and to guard her. And he bade them never let her see a man or hear the name of a man. So Ethlin was brought up in the tower, and she grew to be very beautiful. And sometimes she would see men passing in the cuttocks, and sometimes she would see a man in her dreams. But when she would speak of that to the women, they would give her no answer. So there was no fear on Balor, and he went on with war and robbery as he was used, seizing every ship that passed by, and sometimes going over to Ireland to do destruction there. Now it chanced at that time that there were 3 brothers of the Tuatha de Danann living together in a place that was called Drum Netian, the Ridge of Fire, Gwabneo and Samthian and Sin. Sin was a lord of the land, and Gwabneo was the smith that had such a great name. Now Clan had a wonderful cow, the Glass Gabanian, and her milk never failed, and everyone that heard of her coveted her, and many tried to steal her away, so that she had to be watched night and day. And one time Sin was wanting some swords made, so he went to Gwabneo's forge, and he brought the Glass Gabanian with him, holding her by the halter. When he came to the forge, his 2 brothers were there together, for Samthian had brought some steel to have weapons made for himself, and Sion bade Samthian to hold the halter while he went to the forge to speak with Gwabneo. Now Balor bad set his mind for a long time on Glass Gabanian, but he had never been able to get near her up to this time. And he was watching not far off, and when he saw Samthian holding the cow, he put on the appearance of a little boy having red hair, and came up to him and told him that he heard his 2 brothers were in the forge, saying to one another that they would use all his steel for their own swords, and make his of iron. "By my word," said Samthian, "they will not deceive me so easily. Let you hold the cow, little lad," he said, "and I will go into them." And with that he rushed into the forge in great anger upon him. And no sooner did Balor get the halter in his hand than he set out, dragging the glass along with him, to the strand, and across the sea to his own island. When Sion saw his brother coming in, he rushed out, and there he saw Balor and Glass out in the sea, and he had nothing to do then but to reproach his brother and to wander about as if his wits had left him, not knowing what way to get his cow back from Balor. At last he went to a druid to ask advice from him, and it is what the druid told him, so that so long as Balor lived, the cow could never be brought back, for no one could go within reach of his evil eye. Sion then went to a woman druid, Birog of the mountains, for her help, and she dressed him in a woman's clothes, and brought him across the sea in a blast of wind to the tower where Ethlin was. Then she called to the women in the tower and asked them for shelter for a high queen, she was after saving from some hardship, and the women in the tower did not like to refuse a woman of the Tuatha De Danann, and they let her and her comrade in. Then Byrog, by her enchantments, put them all into a deep sleep. And Sion went to speak with Ethlin, and when she saw him, she said that it was the face she had seen in her dreams. So she gave him her love, but after a while he was brought away again on a blast of wind. And when her time came, Ethlin gave birth to a son, and when Balor knew that, he bade his people put the child in a cloth and fasten it with a pin and throw him into the current of the sea. And as they were carrying the child across the arm of the sea, the pin dropped out, and the child slipped from the cloth into the water, and they thought he was drowned. But he was brought away by Birog of the mountain, and she brought him to his father Sion, and he gave him to be fostered by Tailati, daughter of the king of the great plain. It is thus Lugh was born and reared. And some say Balor came and struck the head off of Sion on a white stone that has the blood marks on it to this day, but it is likely that it was some other man he struck the head off of, for it was by the sons of Turian that Sion came to his death. And after Lugh came to Teamhair and made up his mind to join with his father's people against the Fomor, he put his mind to work, and he went to a quiet place in Grelix Dued with Nuada and Didacta, and with Ogma, and Guabnu and Diankect were called to them there. A full year they stopped there, making their plans together in secret, the way the Fomor would not know they were going to rise against them, till such a time as all would be ready, and till they would know what their strength was. And it is from that council the place got the name afterwards, the Whisper of the Man of Dea. And they broke up the council and agreed to meet again that day 3 years, and every one of them went their own way, and Lugh went back to his own friends, the sons of Manannán. And it was a good while after that, Nuada was holding a great assembly of the people on the hill of Usnik, on the west side of Teamhair, and they were not long before they saw an armed troop coming towards them from the east over the plain, and there was a young man in the front of the troop, in command over the rest, and the brightness of his face was like the setting sun, so that they were not able to look at him because of the brightness. And when they came nearer, they knew it was Lew Lamphara of the Long Hand that had come back to them, and along with him were the riders of the Seed from the land of promise, and his own foster brothers, the sons of Manannán, Sgioth Glaglio, the White Flower, and Guatni Gorm Sulik, the blue-eyed Sphere, and Sain Sigrig of the Red Ring, and Donum Don Rud of the red-brown hair. And it is the way Lugh was. He had Manannán's horse, the Anbar, of the one mane, under him, that was as swift as the naked cold wind of spring. And the sea was the same as dry land to her, and the rider was never killed off of her back. And she had Manannán's breastplate on him, and that kept whoever was wearing it from wounds, and a helmet on his head with 2 beautiful, precious stones set in the front of it, and one at the back, and when he took it off, his forehead was like a sun on a dry summer day. And he had Manannán's sword, the Friggerecht, the Answerer, at his side, and no one that was wounded by it would ever get away alive. And when that sword was bared in battle, no man that saw it coming against him had any more strength than a woman in childbirth. And the troop came to where the king of Ireland was with the Tuatha De Danann, and they welcomed one another. And they were not long there till they saw a surly, slovenly troop pointing towards them, 9 times 9 of the messengers of the Fomor, that were coming to ask rent and taxes from the men of Ireland, and the names of the 4 that were the hardest and the most cruel were Ain, and Ithfrag, and Coran, and Campar. And there was such great dread of these 4 on the Tuatha De Danann that not one of them would so much as punish his own son, or his foster son, without leave from them. They came up then to where the king of Ireland was with the riders of the Cid, and the king and all the Tuatha De Danann stood up before them, and Lugh of the Long Hand said, "Why do you rise up before that surly, slovenly troop, when you did not rise up before us?" That was a little more Scottish than Irish, I guess. But "It is needful for us to do it," said the king, "for if there was but a child of us sitting before them, They would not think that too small a cause for killing him. By my word, said Lugh, there is a great desire coming on me to kill themselves. That is a thing that would bring harm on us, said the king, for we would meet our own death and destruction through it. It is too long a time you have been under this oppression, said Lugh, and with that he started up and made an attack on the Fomor, killing and wounding them, till he had made an end of 8 nines of them. But he let the last 9 go under the protection of Nuada the king. And I would kill you along with the others, he said, but I would sooner send you go with the messages to your own country than to my own people, for they fear they might get ill treatment. So the 9 went back then till they came to Lachlan, where the men of the Fomor were, and they told them the story from beginning to end, and how a young, well-featured lad had come to Ireland and killed all the tax-gatherers but themselves. And it is the reason he let us off, they said, that we might tell you the story ourselves. Do you know who the young man? Said Baelor of the evil eye then. I know well, said Cethlin, his wife. He is the son of your daughter and mine. And it was foretold, she said, that from the time he would come into Ireland, we would never have power there again, forever. Then the chief men of the Fomor went into the council with Ebe, son of Ned, and Sinchib, grandson of Nib, and Sital Samor, and Leoth, son of Lobis, and the 9 poets of the Fomor that had learning, and the gift of foreknowledge, and Lobius, the druid, and Baelor himself, and his 12 white-mouthed sons, and Cethlin, of the crooked teeth, his queen. And it was just at that time Bress and his father Elethan were come to ask help of the Fomor, and Bress said, I myself will go to Ireland, and 7 great battalions of the riders of the Fomor along with me, and I will give battle to this Ildenach, this master of all arts, and I will strike his head off and bring it here to you, to the green of Berby. It would be a fitting thing for you to do, said they all. Let my ships be made ready for me, said Bress, and let food and provisions be put in them. So they made no delay and went and got the ships ready, and they put plenty of food and drink in them. And the 2 swift Luaths were sent out to gather the army to Bress, and when they were all gathered, they made ready their armor and their weapons, and they set out for Ireland. And Baelor the king followed them to the harbor, and he said, Give battle to that Ildenach, and strike off his head, and tie that island, that is called Ireland, to the back of your ships, and let the destroying water take its place, and put it on the north side of Lachlan, and not one of the men of Dale will follow it there to the end of life and time. Then they pushed out their ships, and put up their painted sails, and went out from the harbor on the untilled country, on the ridges of the wide-lying sea, and they never turned from their course till they came to the harbor of Esdara. And from that they sent out an army through West Connaught, and destroyed it altogether, through and through. And the king of Connaught at that time was Bob Deog, son of the Dagda. And that's going to bring us into part 1, book 2, and I'm going to take a sip of my tea. The sons of Turian. And Lugh of the Long Hand was at that time at Teamhair with the king of Ireland, and it was showed to him that the Fomor were after landing at Esdara. And when he knew that, he made ready Manannan's horse, the Apnhar, and at the time of the battle of the day and night he went there, where Nuada the king was, and told him how the Fomor had landed at Esdern, and spoiled Bob Ding's Coney. And it is what I want, he said, to get help from you to give battle to them. But Nuada was not minded to avenge the destruction that was done on Bob Deog, and not on himself, and Lugh was not well pleased with this answer. And he went riding out of Teamhair westward. And presently he saw 3 armed men coming towards him, his own father, Sion, and his brothers, Cul and Kethian. That were the 3 sons of Canti, and they saluted him. What is the cause of your early rising? They said. It is a good cause I have for it, said Lugh. For the Fomor are come to Ireland and robbed Bob Deog. And what help will you give me against them? He said. Each of us will keep off 100 from you in the battle, said they. That is a good help, said Lugh, but there is a help I would sooner have from you than that, to gather the riders of the Cid, to come to me from every place where they are. So Q and Kithian went towards the south, and Sion set out northward, and he did not stop till he reached the plains of Myrmidhe. And as he was going across the plain, he saw 3 armed men before him, that were the 3 sons of Turian, son of Ogma. And it is the way it was between the 3 sons of Turian and the 3 sons of Chianti. They were in hatred and enmity towards one another, so that whenever they met, there was sure to be fighting among them. Then Sion said, If my 2 brothers had been here, it is a brave fight we would make, but since they are not, it is best for me to fall back. And then he saw a great herd of pigs near him, and he struck himself with a druid rod that put on him the shape of a pig of the herd, and he began rooting up the ground like the rest. Then Brian, one of the sons of Turian, said to his brothers, Did you see that armed man that was walking on the plain a while ago? We did see him, said they. Do you know what it was that took him away? Said Brian. We do not know that, said they. It is a pity. You not be keeping a better watch over the plains of the open country in a time of war, said Brian, and I know well what happened to him, for he struck himself with his druid rod in the shape of a pig of these pigs, and he is rooting up the ground now like any one of them, and whoever he is no friend to us. That is bad for us, said the other 2, for the pigs belong to someone of the Tuatha De Danann, and even if we kill them all, the druid pig might chance to escape us in the end. It is badly you got your learning from the city of learning, said Brian, when you cannot tell an enchanted beast from a natural beast. And while he was saying that, he struck his 2 brothers with his druid rod, and turned them into 2 thin, fast hounds, and they began to yelp sharply on the track of the enchanted pig. It was not long before the pig fell out from among the others, and not one of the others made way, but only itself. And it made for a wood. At the edge of the wood, Brian gave a cast of a spear that went through its body, and the pig cried out, and it said, It is a bad thing you have done to have made a cast at me when you knew me. It seems to me you have the talk of a man, said Brian. I was a man indeed, said he. I am Sion, son of Chianti, and give me your protection now. I swear by the gods of the air, said Brian, that if the life came back 7 times to you, I would take it from you every time. If that is so, said Sion, give me one request. Let me go into my own shape again. We will do that, said Brian, for it is easier to me to kill a man than a pig. So Sion took his own shape, and he said, Give me mercy now. We will not give it, said Brian. Well, I have got the better of you for all that, said Sion. For if it was in the shape of a pig you would kill me, there would only be the blood money for a pig on me. But as it is now my own shape you will kill me, there never was and never will be any person killed for whose sake a heavier fine will be paid than for myself. And the arms I am killed with, he said, it is they will tell the deed to my son. It is not with weapons you will be killed, but with the stones lying on the ground, said Brian, and with that they pelted him with stones fiercely and roughly, till all that was left of him was a poor, miserable, broken heap. And they buried him the depth of a man's body in the earth, and the earth would not receive their murder from them, but cast it up again. Brian said that it should go into the earth again, and they put it in the 2nd time, and the 2nd time the earth would not take it. And 6 times the sons of Turian buried the body, and 6 times it was cast up again. But the 7th time it was put in an underground, the earth kept it. And when they went on to join Lugh of the Long Hand for the battle. Now as to Lugh, upon parting with his father, he went forward from Teamhair westward, to the hills that were afterwards called Garrick and Nilgarek, and to the ford of the Shannon that is now called Althwain, and to Bierna na Dagana, the gap of separation, and over Maglurig, the plain of the following, and to Korslivnitzig, the round mountain of the Poet's Spring, and to the head of Sinsliev, and through the place of the bright-faced Corin, and from that to Magmur and Onak, and the great plain of the fair, where the former were, and the spoils of Connacht with them. It is then Bres, the son of Elethan, rose up and said, It is a wonder to me the sun would be rising in the west today. and it rising in the east every other day. It would be better for us it to be the sun, said the Druids. What else is it, said he. It is the shining face of Lugh, the son of Ethelyn, said they. Lugh came up to them and saluted them. Why do you come like a friend to us, said they. There is good cause for that, he said, for there is but one half of me of the Tuatha De Danann, and the other half of yourselves, and give me back now the milk cows of the men of Ireland, he said. May early good luck not come to you till you get either a dry or a milk cow here, said the man of them, but anger on him. But Lugh stopped near them for 3 days and 3 nights, and at the end of the time the riders of the Seat came to him. And Bobdir, the son of the Dagda, came with 2,900 men, and he said, What is the cause of your delay in giving battle? Waiting for you I was, said Lugh. Then the kings and chief men of Ireland took their armor on them, and they raised the points of their spears over their head, and they made close fences of their shields. And they attacked their enemies on Magmoran Neonach. And their enemies answered them, and they threw their whining spears at one another. And when their spears were broken, they drew their swords from their blue-bordered sheaths, and began to strike at one another, and thickets of brown flames rose above them from the bitterness of their many-edged weapons. And Lugh saw the battle pen where Bress, son of Elethan, was, and he made a fierce attack on him, and on the men that were guarding him, till he made an end of 200 of them. When Bress saw that, he gave himself up to Lugh's protection. Give me my life this time, he said, and I will bring the whole race of the Fomor to fight it out with you in a great battle. And I bind myself to that by the sun and the moon and the sea and the land, he said. On that, Lugh gave him his life, and then the Druids that were with him asked his protection for themselves. By my word, said Lugh, if the whole race of the Fomor went under my protection, they would not be destroyed by me. So then Bress and the Druids set out for their own country. Now, as to Lugh and the sons of Turian, after the battle of Magmor on Eonog, he met 2 of his kinsmen and asked them, did they see his father in the fight? We did not, said they. I am sure he is not living, said Lugh, and I give my word, he said, there will be no food or drink go into my mouth till I get knowledge by what death my father died. Then he set out, and the riders of the Cid after him, till they came to the place where he and his father parted from one another, and from that to the place where his father went into the shape of a pig when he saw the sons of Turian. And when Lugh came to that place, the earth spoke to him, and it said, It is in great danger your father was here, Lugh, when he saw the sons of Turian before him. And it is into the shape of a pig he had to go, but it is in his own shape they killed him. Then Lugh told that to his people, and he found the spot where his father was buried, and bade them to dig there. The way he would know by what death the sons of Turian had made an end of him. Then they raised the body out of the grave and looked at it, and it was all one bed of wounds. And Lugh said, It was the death of an enemy the sons of Turian gave my dear father. And he gave him 3 kisses, and it is what he said. It is bad the way I see myself after this death, for I can hear nothing with my ears, and I can see nothing with my eyes, and there is not a living pulse in my heart with grief after my father's. And you gods I worship, he said, it is a pity I do not have to come. It is a pity I not to have come here the time this thing was done. And it is a great thing that has been done here, he said, the people of the gods of Dana, to have done treachery on one another. And it is long they will be under loss by it and be weakened by it. And Ireland will never be free from trouble, from this out, east and west, he said. And then they put Sion under the earth again, and after that there was a keening made over his grave, and a stone was raised on it, and his name was written in Ogham. And Lugh said, This hill will take its name from Sion, though he himself is stripped and broken. And it was the sons of Turian did this thing, he said, and there will grief and anguish fall on them from it, and on their children after them. And it is no lying story I am telling you, he said, and it is a pity the way I am, and my heart is broken in my breast, since Sion, the brave man, is not living." Then he bade his people to go before him to Teamhair, "But do not tell the story till I tell it myself," he said. And when Lugh came to Teamhair, he sat in the high seat of the king, and he looked about him, and he saw the 3 sons of Turian. And those were the 3 that were beyond all others at Teamhair at that time for quickness and skill, for a good hand in battle, for beauty and an honorable name. Then Lugh bade his people to shake the chains of silence, and they did so, and they all listened. And Lugh said, "What are your minds fixed on at this time, men of Dea?" "On yourself, indeed," said they. "I have a question to ask of you," he said. "What is the vengeance each of you would take on the man that would kill your father?" There was great wonder on them when they heard that, and one of the chief men among them says, "Tell us, was it your own father that was killed?" "It was indeed," said Lugh, "and I see now in this house the men that killed him, and they know themselves what way they killed him better than I know it." Then the king says, "It is not a death of one day only that I would give a man that killed my father if he was in my power, but to cut off one of his limbs from day to day till I would make an end of him." And all the chief men said the same, and the sons of Turian like the rest. "There are making that answer," said Lugh, "the 3 men that killed my father, and let them pay the fine for him now, since you are all together in the one place. And if they will not," he said, "I will not break the protection of the king's house, but they must make no attempt to quit this house till they have settled with me." "If it was I myself had killed your father," said the king, "I would be well content you to take a fine from me for him." "It is at us Lugh is saying all of this," said the sons of Turian among themselves. "Let us acknowledge the killing of his father to him," said Lucar and Nuchibara. "I am in dread," said Barain, "that it is wanting an acknowledgment from us he is, in the presence of all the rest, and that he will not let us off with a fine afterwards." "It is best to acknowledge it," said the others, "and let you speak it out, since you are the eldest." Then Brian, son of Turian, said, "It is at us you are speaking, Lugh, for you are thinking we went against the sons of Chianti before now, and we did not kill your father," he said, "but we will pay the fine for him, the same as if we did kill him." "I will take a fine from you that you do not think of," said Lugh, "and I will say here what it is, and if it is too much for you, I will let you off a share of it." "Let us hear it from you," he said. They said, "Here it is," said Lugh, 3 apples, and the skin of a pig, and a spear, and 2 horses and a chariot, and 7 pigs, and a dog's whelp, and a cooking spit, and 3 shouts on a hill. "That is the fine I am asking," he said, "and if it is too much for you, a part of it will be taken off you presently, and if you do not think it too much, then pay it." "It is not too much," said Brian, "or 100 times of it would not be too much, and we think it likely," he said, "because of its smallness, that you have some treachery towards us behind it." "I do not think it too little of a fine," said Lugh, "and I give you the guarantee of the Tuatha de Danann. I will ask no other thing, and I will be faithful to you, and let you give the same pledge to me." "It is a pity you to ask that," said Brian, "for our own pledge is as good as any pledge in the world." "Your own pledge is not enough," said Lugh, "for it is often the like of you promise to pay a fine in this way, and would try to back out of it after." So then the sons of Turian bound themselves by the kings of Ireland, and by Bobdirk, son of the Dagda, and by the chief men of the Tuatha de Danann, that they would pay that fine to Lugh. "It would be well for me now," said Lugh, "to give you better knowledge of the fine." "It would be well indeed," said they. "This is the way of it, then. The 3 apples I have asked of you are the 3 apples from the garden in the east of the world, and no other apples will do but these, for they are the most beautiful and have the most virtue in them of the apples of the whole world. And it is what they are like. They are like the color of burned gold, and they are the size of the head of a child a month old. And there is the taste of honey on them, and they do not leave the pain of wounds or the vexation of sickness on any one that eats them, and they do not lessen by being eaten forever. And the skin I asked of you, he said, is the pig skin of Thuis, king of Greece, and it heals all the wounds and all the sicknesses of the world. And whatever danger a man may be in, if it can but overtake the life in him, it will cure him. And it is the way it was with that pig. Every stream of water it would go through would be turned into wine to the end of 9 days after, and every wound it touched was healed. It is what the Druids of Greece said, that it was not in itself this virtue was, but in the skin. And they skinned it, and the skin is there ever since. And I think, too, it will not be easy for you to get it, with or without leave. And do you know what is the spear I am asking of you? He said. We do not, said they. It is a very deadly spear, belonging to the king of Persia. The Lugh in it is called, and every choice thing is done by it, and its head is kept steeped in a vessel of water, the way it will not burn down the place where it is, and it will be hard to get it. And do you know what 2 horses and what chariot I am asking of you? They are the chariot and the 2 wonderful horses of Dewar, king of Sealgar. And the sea is the same as land to them, and there is no faster horses than themselves, and there is no chariot equal to that one in shape and in strength. And do you know what are the 7 pigs I asked of you? They are the pigs of Esau, king of the golden pillars, and though they are killed every night, they are found alive the next day. And there will be no disease or no sickness on any person that will eat a share of them. And the whelp I asked of you is Phael Enis, the whelp belonging to the king of Araday, the cold country. And all the wild beasts of the world would fall down at the sight of her, and she is more beautiful than the sun in his fiery wheels, and it will be hard to get her. And the cooking spit I asked of you is the spit of the spits of the women of Innis and Fian, the island of Catter of the fair hair. And the 3 shouts you are to give on a hill must be given on the hill of Meochan, in the north of Lachlan. And Meochan and his sons are under bonds not to allow any shouts to be given on that hill. And it was with them my father got his learning, and if I would forgive you his death, they would not forgive you. And if you get through all of your voyages before you reach to them, it is my opinion they themselves will avenge him on you. And that is the fine I have asked of you, said Lugh. And there was silence and darkness on the sons of Turian when they heard that, and they went to where their father was and told him the fine that had been put on them. It is bad news, that is, said Turian, and it is to your death and your destruction you will be going, looking for those things. But for all that, if Lugh himself had a mind to help you, you could work out the fine, and all the men of the world could not do it but by the power of Manannán, or of Lugh. Go then, and ask the loan of Manannán's horse, the Abnar, from Lugh, and if he has any wish to get the fine, he will give it to you. But if he does not wish it, he will say the horse is not his, and that he would not give the loan of a loan. Ask him then for the loan of Manannán's curragh, the Scubatian, the sweeper of the waves, and he will give you that, for he is under bond not to refuse a second request, for the curragh is better for you than the horse. So the sons of Turian went to where Lugh was, and they saluted him, and they said they could not bring him the fine without his own help. And for that reason it would be well for them to get the loan of Abrar. I have that horse only on loan myself, said Lugh, and I will not give a loan of a loan. If that is so, give us the loan of Manannán's curragh, said Brian. And I will give that, said Lugh. What place is it, said they. At Brugh na Broin, said Lugh. And then they went back to where Turian was, and his daughter Ethic, their sister, with him, and they told him they had got the curragh. It is not much the better you will be for it, said Turian, although Lugh would like well to get every part of this fine he could but make use of before the battle with the Formor. But he would like yourselves come to your death looking for it. Then they went away, and they left Turian sorrowful and lamenting, and Ethne went with him to where curragh was, and Brian got into it, and he said, There is a place, but for one other person along with me here, and he began to find fault with its narrowness. You ought not to be faulting the Curragh, said Ethne. And, oh, my dear brother, she said, it was a bad thing you did, to kill the father of Lugh of the Long Hand, and whatever harm may come to you from it, it is but just. Do not say that, Ethne, they said, for we are in a good heart, and we will do brave deeds, and we would sooner be killed 100 times over than to meet the death of cowards. My grief, said Ethne, there is nothing more sorrowful than this, to see you driven out from your own country. Then the three pushed out the Curragh from the beautiful clear-bayed shore of Ireland. What course shall we take first? Said they. Will we go look for the apples? Said Brian. As they were the first thing we were bade bring, and so we ask of you, Curragh of Manannán, that is under us, to sail to the garden in the east of the world. And the Curragh did not neglect the order, but it sailed forward over the green-sided waves and deep places, till it came to its harbour in the east of the world. And then Brian asked his brothers, What way have you in mind to get into the garden? For I think, he said, the king's champion and the fighting men of that country are always guarding it, and the king himself is chief over them. What should we do, said his brothers, but to make straight at them and attack them and bring away the apples, or fall ourselves, since we cannot escape from these dangers that are before us without meeting our death in some place. It would be better, said Brian, the story of our bravery and our craftiness to be told and to live after us, than folly and cowardice to be told of us. And what is the best for us to do now, he said, is to go in the shape of swift hawks into the garden, and the watchers have but their light spears to throw at us, and let you take good care to keep out of their reach. And after they have thrown them all, make a quick flight to the apples, and let each of you bring away an apple of them in your claws, and I will bring away the third. They said that was good advice, and Brian struck himself and the others with his druid rod, and changed them into beautiful hawks. And they flew towards the garden, and the watchers took notice of them, and shouted on every side of them, and threw showers of spears and darts. But the hawks kept out of their reach, as Brian had bade them, till all the spears were spent. And then they swept down bravely on the apples, and brought them away with them, without so much as a wound. And the news went through the city and the whole district, and the king had 3 wise, crafty daughters, and they put themselves into the shape of 3 ospreys. And they followed the hawks to the sea, and sent flashes of lightning before them and after them, that scorched them greatly. It is a pity the way we are now, said the sons of Turian, for we will be burned through and through with this lightning if we do not get some relief. If I can give you relief, I will do it, said Brian. With that he struck himself and his brothers with the druid rod, and they were turned to 3 swans. And they went quickly down to the sea, and the ospreys went away from them then, and the sons of Turian went into their boat. After that they consulted together, and it is what they agreed, to go to Greece, and bring away the skin of the pig, with or without leave. So they went forward till they came near the court of the king of Greece. What appearance should we put on us going in here, said Brian. What appearance should we go in but with our own, said the others. That is not what I think best, said Brian, but to go in with the appearance of poets from Ireland, the way the high people of Greece will hold us in respect and in honor. It would be hard for us to do that, they said, and we without a poem, and it is little we know how to make one. However, they put the poet's tie on their hair, and they knocked at the door of the court, and the doorkeeper asked who it was. We are the poets of Ireland, said Brian, and we are come with a poem for the king. The doorkeeper went in and told the king that there were poets from Ireland at the door. Let them in, said the king, for it is in search of a good man they come so far from their own country. And the king gave orders that everything should be well set out in the court, the way they would say they had not seen no place so grand in all their travels. The sons of Turian were let in then, having the appearance of poets, and they fell to drinking and pleasure without delay. And they thought they had never seen, and there was not in the world a court so good as that, or so large a household, or a place where they had met with better treatment. Then the king's poets got up to give out their poems and songs, and then Brian son of Turian, bade his brothers to say a poem for the king. "We have no poem," said they, "and do not ask any poem of us, but the one we know before, and that is to take what we want by the strength of our hand, if we are the strongest, or to fall by those who are against us, if they are the strongest." "That is not a good way to make a poem," said Brian, and with that he rose up himself and asked a hearing, and they all listened to him, and it is what he said. "O Tuus, we do not hide your fame. We praise you as the oak among kings, the skin of a pig, bounty without hardness. This is the reward I ask for it. The war of a neighbor against an ear, a fair ear of his neighbor will be against him, who gives us what he owns. His court will not be the scarcer for it. A raging army in a sudden sea are a danger to whoever goes against them. The skin of a pig, bounty without hardness. This is the reward I ask, O Tuus." "That is a good poem," said the king, "but I do not know the word of its meaning." "I will tell you its meaning," said Brian. "O Tuus, we do not hide your fame. We praise you as the oak above the kings. That is, as the oak is beyond the kingly trees of the woods, so you are beyond the kings of the world for open-handedness and for grandeur. The skin of a pig, bounty without hardness, that is, the skin of a pig you own, is what I would wish to get from you as a reward for my poem. The war of a neighbor against an ear, the fair ear of his neighbor will be against him. That is, you and I will be by the ears about the skin, unless I get it without your consent. And that is the meaning of the poem," said Brian. "I would praise your poem," said the king, "if there was not so much about my pigskin in it. And you have no good sense, men of poetry," he said, "to be asking that thing of me, and I would not give it to all the poets and the learned men and the great men of the world, since they could not take it away without my consent. But I will give you 3 times the full of the skin of gold as the price of your poem." "May be good with you, king," said Brian, "and I know well it was no easy thing I was asking. But I knew I would get a good ransom for it, and I am that covetous," he said. "I would not be satisfied without seeing the gold measured myself into the skin." The king sent his servants with him then to the treasure house to measure the gold. "Measure out the full of it to my brothers first," said Brian, "and then give good measure to myself, since it was I that made the poem." But when the skin was brought out, Brian made a quick, sudden snatch at it with his left hand, and drew his sword and made a stroke at the man nearest him, and made 2 halves of him. And then he kept a hold of a skin and put it about himself, and the 3 of them rushed out of the court, cutting down every armed man before them, so that not one escaped death or wounding. And then Brian went to where the king himself was, and the king made no delay in attacking him, and they made a hard fight of it. And at the end the king of Greece fell by the hand of Brian, son of Turian. The 3 brothers rested for a while after that, and then they said they would go and look for some other part of the find. "We will go to Pasir, king of Persia," said Brian, "and ask him for the spear." So they went in their boat, and they left the blue streams of the coast of Greece, and they said, "We are well oiled when we have the apples and the skin." And they stopped nowheres till they came to the borders of Persia. "Let us go to the court with the appearance of poets," said Brian, "the same as we went to the king of Greece." "We are content to do that," said the others, "as all turned out so well the last time we took to poetry. Not that it is easy to take a calling that does not belong to us." So they put the poet's tie on their hair, and they were all well treated as they were at the other court. But when the time came for poems, Brian rose up, and it is what he said. "It is little any spear looks to Pisiar. The battle of enemies are broken. It is not too much for Pisiar to wound them, every one of them. A yew, the most beautiful of the wood, it is called a king. It is not bulky. May the spear drive on the whole crowd of their wounds of death." "This is a good poem," said the king, "but I do not understand why my own spear is brought into it, O man of poetry from Ireland." "It is because it is the spear of your own I would wish to get as the reward of my poem," said Brian. "It is little sense you have to be asking that of me," said the king, "and the people of my court never showed greater respect for poetry than now. when they did not put you to death on the spot?" When Brian heard that talk from the king, he thought of the apple that was in his hand, and made a straight cast and hit him in the forehead, so that his brains were put out at the back of his head. And he bared the sword and made an attack on the people about him. And the other two did not fail to do the same, and they gave him their help bravely, till they made an end of it, all they met of the people of the court. And then they found the spear, and his head in a cauldron of water, the way it would not set the fire to the place. And after a while they said it was time for them to go and look for the rest of the great find that was on them. And they asked one another, what way should they go? "We will go to the king of the island of Siagder, for it is with him are the 2 horses and the chariot the Eldenak asked of us." They went forward then and brought the spear with them, and it is proud the 3 champions were after all they had done. And they went on till they were come to the court of the king of Siagder. "It is what we will do this time," said Brian. "We will go in with the appearance of paid soldiers from Ireland, and we will make friends with the king. The way we will get to know in what place the horses and chariot are kept." And when they had settled on that, they went forward to the lawn before the king's house. And the king and the chief men that were with him rose up and came through the fair that was going on there, and they saluted the king, and be asked who were they. "We are trained fighting men from Ireland," they said, "and we are earning wages from the kings of the world." "Is it your wish to stop with me for a while?" said the king. "That is what we are wanting," said they, and so they made an agreement and took service with him. They stopped in the court a fortnight and a month, and they never saw the horses through that time. Then Brian said, "This is a bad way we are in, to have no more news of the horses now than the first day we came to the place." "What is best for us to do now?" said his brothers. "Let us do this," said Brian. "Let us take our arms and gather our things together and go to the king, and tell him we will leave the country and this part of the world unless he will show us those horses." And so they went to the king that very day and asked him what did they mean by getting themselves ready for a journey. "You will hear that, High King," says Brian. "It is because trained fighting men from Ireland, like ourselves, have always trust put in them by the kings they guard, and we are used to being told the secrets and the whispers of any person we are with, and that is not the way you have treated us since we came to you. For you have 2 horses and a chariot that are the best in the world, and we have been told, and we have not been given a sight of them yet. It would be a pity you to go on that account," said the king, "when I would have showed them to you on the first day if I had known you had a wish to see them. And if you have a mind to see them now," he said, "you may see them. For I think there never came soldiers from Ireland to this place that were thought more of by myself and by my people than yourselves." He sent for the horses then, and they were yoked to the chariot, and their going was as fast as the cold spring wind, and the sea was the same as the land to them. And Brian was watching the horses closely, and on a sudden he took hold of the chariot, and took the chariot driver out, and dashed him against the nearest rock, and made a leap into his place himself, and made a cast of the Persian spear at the king, that went through his heart. Then he and his brothers scattered the people before them, and brought away the chariot. "We will go now to Esau, the king of the golden pillars," said Brian, "to look for the 7 pigs the Eldenak bade us to bring him." They sailed on then without delay or drawback to that high country, and it is the way of the people of that country were, watching their harbors for fear of the sons of Turian, for the story of them had been told in all parts, how they had been sent out of Ireland by force, and how they were bringing away with them all the gifted treasures of the whole world. Esau came to the edge of the harbor to meet them, and he asked was it true what he heard, that the king of every country they had gone to had fallen by them. Brian said that it was true, whatever he might wish to do to them for it. "What was it made you do that?" said Esau. And Brian told him that it was the oppression and hard sentence of another had put them to it. And he told them all that had happened, and how they had been put down all that had offered to stand against them until that time. "What did you come to this country now for?" said the king. "For the pigs belonging to yourself," said Brian, "for to bring them away with us is a part of the line." "What way do you think to get them?" said the king. "If we get them with good will," said Brian, "we are ready to take them thankfully, and if we do not, we are ready to do battle with yourself and your people on the head of them, that you may fall by us, and we may bring away the pigs in spite of you." "If that is to be the end of it," said the king, "it would be a pity to bring my people into a battle." "It would be a pity indeed," said Brian. Then the king whispered and took advice with his own people about the matter, and it is what they agreed, to give up the pigs of their own free will to the sons of Turian, since they could not see that anyone had been able to stand against them up to that time. Then the sons of Turian gave their thanks to Esau, and there was wonder on him to have got the pigs like that, when they had to fight for every other part of the find. And more than that, they had left their share of blood in every other place till then. Esau brought them into his own house that night, and they were served with food and drink and good beds and all they could wish for. And they rose up on the morrow and came to the king's presence, and the pigs were given to them. "It is well you have done by us giving us these pigs," said Brian, "for we did not get any share of the find without fighting but these alone." And he made a poem for the king then, praising him, and putting a great name on him for what he had done. "What journey are you going to make now, sons of Turian?" said Esau. "We are going," they said, "to the country of Idare, on account of the wealth that is there." "Give me one request," said Esau, "and that is to bring me with you to the king of Idare, for a daughter of mine is his wife, and I would wish to persuade him to give you the whelp without a battle." "That will please us well," they said. So the king's ship was made ready, and we have no knowledge of what happened till they came to the delightful, wonderful coast of Iride. The people and the armies were watching the harbors and landing places before them, and they knew them at once and shouted at them. Then Esau went on the shore peaceably, and he went to where his son-in-law, the king, was, and told him the story of the sons of Turian from beginning to end. "What has brought them to this country?" said the king of Iride. "To ask for the hound you have," said Esau. "It was a bad thought you had coming with them to ask it," said the king, "for the gods have not given that much luck to any 3 champions in the world, that they would get my hound by force or by good will." "It would be better for you to let them have the hound," said Esau, "since they have put down so many kings of the world." But all he could say was only idleness to the king, so he went to where the sons of Turian were, and gave them the whole account. And when they heard the king's answer, they made no delay, but put quick hands on their arms, and offered to give battle to the army of Iride. And when they went, there was a brave battle fought on both sides. And as for the sons of Turian, they began to kill and to strike at the men of Iride, till they parted from one to another in the fight, so that Lucar and Lucarba chanced to be on one side, and Brian by himself on the other. It was a gap of danger, and breaking of ranks was before Brian in every path he took, till he came to the king of Iride in the battle pen where he was. And then the 2 brave champions began a fierce fight together, and they did not spare one another in it. And at the last Brian overcame the king, and bound him, and brought him through the middle of the army, till he came to the place where Esau was, and it is what he said: "There is your son-in-law for you, and I swear by my hand of valor, I would think it easier to kill him 3 times than to bring him to you once, like this." So then the whelp was given to the sons of Turian, and the king was unbound, and peace was made between them. And when they had brought all this to an end, they bade farewell to Esau and to all the rest. Now, as to Lugh of the long hand, it was showed to him that the sons of Turian had got all the things that they were wanting to him against the battle with the Fomor, and on that he sent a druid spell after them to put forgetfulness on them for the rest of the find that they had not got. And he put a great desire and longing on them to go back to Ireland, so they forgot that a part of the find was wanting to them, and they returned again towards home. And it is the place where Lugh was at the time, at a gathering of the people for a fair on the outside of Teamhair, and the king of Ireland along with him. And it was made known to Lugh that the sons of Turin were landed at Brugh na Boine. And he went to the city of Teamhair, and shut the gates after him, and he put on Manannan's smooth armor and the cloak of the daughters of Fludious, and he took his own arms in his hand. And the sons of Turin came to where the king was, and they were made welcome by him and by the Tuatha de Danann. And the king asked them, did they get the fine? We did get it, said they. And where is Lugh till we give it to him? He was here a while ago, said the king, and the whole fair was searched for him, but he was not found. I know the place where he is, said Brian, for it has been made known to him that we were come to Ireland, and these deadly arms with us, and he has gone into Teamhair to avoid us. Messengers were sent to him then, and it is the answer he gave them that he would not come, but that the fine should be given to the king. So the sons of Turin did that, and when the king had taken the fine, they all went to the palace in Teamhair, and Lugh came out of the lawn, and the fine was given to him, and it is what he has said. There is good payment here for anyone that was ever killed, and that ever will be killed. But there is something wanting to it yet that it was not lawful to leave out. And where is the cooking spit, he said, and where are the 3 shouts on the hill that you did not give yet? And when the sons of Turin heard that there came clouds of weakness on them, and they left the place and went to their father's house that night, and they told him all they had done, and the way Lugh had treated them. And there was grief and darkness on Turin then, and they spent the night together. And on the morrow they went to their ship, and Ethne, their sister, with them, and she was crying and lamenting. And it is what she said. It is a pity, Brian, of my life. It is not to Teamhair that you are going, after all the troubles you have had before this, even if I could not follow you. O salmon of the dumb Boine, O salmon of the river, life river, since I cannot keep you here, I am loath to part from you. O rider of the wave of Tuatha, the man that stands best in the fight, if you come back again, I think it will not be pleasing to your enemy. Is there pity with you for the sons of Turin leaning now on their green shields? Their going is a cause for pity. My mind is filled up with it. You to be tonight at Bien Nadir, till the heavy coming of the morning, you who have taken forfeits from brave men, it is you have increased our grief. It is a pity your journey is from Teamhair, and from the pleasant plains, and from the great Usnik of Merid. There is nothing so pitiful as this. After that complaint they went out on the rough waves of the green sea, and they were a quarter of the year on the sea without getting any news of the island. Then Brian put on his water dress, and he made a leap, and he was a long time walking in the sea, looking for the island of the fair-haired women, and he found it in the end. And he went looking for the court, and when he came to it, all he found was a troop of women doing needlework and embroidering borders. And among all the other things they had with them, there was a cooking spit. And when Brian saw it, he took up his hand, and he was going to bring it with him to the door. And all the women began laughing when they saw him doing it, and it is what they said. It is a brave deed you put your band to, for even if your brothers were along with you, at least of the 3 times 50 women of us would not let the spit go with you or with them. But for all that, they said, take a spit of the spit with you, since you had the daring to try and take us in spite of us. Brian bade them farewell then, and went to look for the boat, and his brothers thought it was too long he was away from them, and just as they were going to leave the place they saw him coming towards them, and that raised their courage greatly. And he went into the boat, and they went on to look for the hill of Meochan. And when they came there, Meochan, that was the guardian of the hill, came towards them. And when Brian saw him, he attacked him. And the fight of those 2 champions was like the fight of 2 lions, till Meochan fell at the last. And after Meochan had fallen, his 3 sons came out to fight with the 3 sons of Tuan. If anyone ever came from the east of the world to look at any fight, it is to see the fight of these champions, and he had a right to come, for the greatness of their blows and the courage of their minds. The names of the son of Meochan were Corc and Con and Ed, and they drove their 3 spears through the bodies of the sons of Turin. And that did not discourage them at all, and they put their own 3 spears through the bodies of the son of Machion, so that they fell into the clouds and the faintness of death. And then Brian said, "What way are you now, my brothers?" "We are near our death," said they. "Let us rise up," he said, "and give 3 shouts upon the hill, for I see the signs of death coming on us." "We are not able to do that," said they. And then Brian rose up and raised each one of them with one hand, and he, shedding blood heavily all the time, until they gave the 3 shouts. After that, Brian brought them with him to the boat, and they were traveling the sea for a long time. But at last Brian said, "I see Bianadar, and our fathers Dun and Teamhair of the kings." "We would have our fill of health if we could see that," said the others. "And for the love of your good name, brother," they said, "raise up our heads on your breast till we see Ireland again, and life or death will be the same to us after that." "And, O Brian," they said, "flame of valor without treachery, we would sooner death to bring ourselves away than to see you with wounds upon your body and no physician to heal you." Then they came to Bianadar, and from that they went to their father's house, and Brian said to Turian, "Go, dear father, to Teamhair, and give this spit to Lugh, and bring the skin that has healing in it for our relief. Ask it from him for the sake of friendship," he said, "for we are of one blood, and let him not give hardness for hardness. And, oh dear father," he said, "do not be long on your journey, or you will not find us alive before you." Then Turian went to Teamhair, and he found Lugh of the long hand before him, and he gave him the spit, and he asked the skin of him to heal his children, and Lugh said he would not give it. And Turian came back to them and told them he had not got the skin. And Brian said, "Bring me with you to Lugh, to see what I get it from him." So they went to Lugh, and Brian asked the skin of him, and Lugh said he would not give it, and that if they would give him the breadth of the earth in gold for it, he would not take it from them, unless he was sure their death would come on them in satisfaction for the deed they had done. When Brian heard that, he went to the place his 2 brothers were, and he lay down between them, and his life went out from him, and out from the other 2 at the same time. And their father cried and lamented over his 3 beautiful sons, that had the making of a king of Ireland in each of them. And his strength left him, and he died, and they were buried in one grave. And so we are going to go ahead and wrap this one up, because we are just over an hour, and that is a good spot. There is more to this story, and we shall return, but we don't want to extend it too long. People tend to lose focus. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion. I didn't have a whole lot to add to this one. This is a reading into the history. This is learning from, and I don't have a lot to talk about if I don't already know and I don't have an idea. There's a lot to assimilate here. It is important to note that they killed a man, were given these tasks to do, and then they went about killing men. Doesn't seem like a good way to cleanse yourself from the man that you killed, but that's just me. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment if you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If there is another work you would like to see me read through in the manner that we are doing here, leave that in the comments down below as well. And if you really like what I'm doing over here, hit me with that super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.